So
I guess the next thing that Joseph would be is just sitting around waiting for that call whenever it comes.
And it'll come around 3 o'clock. And that's when the whole exchange will be. So, you mind picking us up?
No, I'll be right.
He'll be right
All
there.
right.
Okay. Did you want to get in contact with David?
might as well. Ring, motherfucker.
David picks up the phone.
We're going to see Jeannie.
And by this point, David's done with his ShrekNet stuff, right?
Absolutely. He can be done whatever he wants to be.
Do you want me to come along?
I mean, if you want to, you can. I'm not gonna make you or not.
But do you want me to?
I'm ambivalent about either way.
Alright, I guess I'll come along then. I'll meet you at the Maupassant room.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Takes about until like 3:20 in the morning, but eventually the four of you end up getting organized for the Maupassant room, which looks just as it always does.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Standing next to the X'd out face of the sheriff.
We don't talk about that.
Oh, okay.
We don't talk about the X's.
They just appear in the city one and just no one want to talk about them.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, I guess no time like the present, and Byron will start walking towards the door.
Yeah, Mark, all right behind him.
Okay.
David's just mostly there for moral support. He'll keep up, but stay quiet.
Yeah, the same thing, Joseph. He's not going to talk if no one.
Byron was thinking the same thing. He's, I mean, he'll back up Marcus, like he said, but he's going to let him do the talking.
Marcus intends to do the thing.
Fantastic.
Within the foyer of the Maupassant room, as it turns out, is the severe, professionally dressed secretary of the of Eugenio Estevez, who looks up at the four of you and recognizes Marcus, and there's a flicker of a scowl on her face before it resets into neutral features. May I help you for?
We'd like to see Mr. Estevez. It's about the meeting we had last time. About the meeting I had with him 2 days previous.
No appointment scheduled with him again, I assume?
Yeah, I am not good with appointments.
Hold on. Picks the phone, punches a number. Jeannie. I see. Yeah? Okay. Hangs up the phone. Says, there is one condition to the meeting. He is on his way downstairs to meet you in that ground floor office right now.
What is the condition?
She reaches into a drawer and pulls out a rather curious object. But, as it turns out, as she pulls it out of the drawer, it is looks like it's a human skull. Looks like it's pristine and white, although it looks like it has seen quite a few years on it. Perhaps, perhaps a century or two, perhaps even longer, from the drawer. Does not look like there are any sorts of markings or, like paintings or drawings or anything. Just looks like a clear, albeit ancient skull. Secretary places it on the desk, looks at Marcus and say, Jeannie is insistent that before you begin speaking with him further, that you carry this around. My understanding, he explained to me, is that it's to help you with your... She pauses, trying to think of a way to phrase it, condition.
All right. Marcus will pick up the skull gingerly and look at it.
This looks as how I described. Marcus feels no different while holding this skull within his hands.
Yep. Well, I gotta hold it. Marcus will hold the skull and wait for Eugenio.
Okay. Jeannie eventually descends from the elevator. Takes about another minute or two, but he does come down. Like, yes, the four of you. He, for his part, does not look like as congenial and friendly as he did upon greeting the four of you initially, once upon a time. Please come with me to the office.
Marcus will follow.
And he leads you all to that same office room where the four of you initially met and spoke with things, and then David and Marcus returned to after Joseph and Byron had left. And Jeannie settles down. There's no notepad or sort of laptop or anything. So, what brings the four of you here again?
Well, I'm mostly here for moral support because I've come to admit that I lied to you the other day.
Oh, have you now? Please, have a seat. He gestures with a strong hand.
Mark will sit down and say, like, I'm sorry that I lied to you about the Black Rock, but here's the truth. During the Tremere assaults, the four of us, along with the Archon Theo Bell, under the Justicar's order, went in as well to infiltrate Vicephalod's manor and retrieve the Black Rock.
I see.
Don't know.
When
I
did you
don't
do
know where
this?
the
Right during our assault?
Yes.
Let's see. So just
Theo. We started down right at midnight, I believe, which is when your assault began.
Yes, on shortly before that April Fool's Day. Yes.
We retrieved the rock, and in the process, killed quite a few. We killed quite a few. Slatcha and Theo seem to also kill the former sheriff of New York, Mr. Kadir Al-Asami, who was...
That would explain the condition in which we found him, yes.
Theo took the rock, and we escaped. Where the rock is now, I have no idea.
What did he tell you about it?
He said it was part of Axoru. Some demon thing. Well, that rumors indicated that it might be it.
I see, and he was tasked to do this by Jaroslav Pasek.
I would believe so, and I believe mostly that's what Theo said, right?
Yep.
He said he was under orders from the Justicar to get it. Yeah.
How did you get into the area?
We went down the elevator that the Cephalot had, the one I told you about.
Yes. Interesting. That still worked?
It stopped working half down.
And the Archon went with you himself, huh?
Strangely enough, he did.
And you fought Zlatcha guards, as well as the former sheriff, who had been transmogrified, and that did not stop you, for you managed to retrieve this item all the same, and return with it to the surface where Archon Theobel had it, and... why are you telling me this?
Mostly because I thought it was wrong to lie to you, after you've done me no wrong.
Speaking
And
as a storyteller, does Marcus think that it was wrong to lie to Jeannie?
on one hand, I think Marcus thinks he owes the Tremere a favor for, actually, making sure that he's not crazy, and that the memories of Cephalod were his own, or at least, you know what I mean. On the other hand, Marcus also sort of thought that telling them that the rock was in the Justicar's hand, that the rock was in the Archon's hand, and the Justicar ordered it, might be wrong for Theo. Byron having told him that pretty much, strangely enough, Byron, you actually helped out here.
Alright, so Marcus ends up giving his initial line there of, like, why, he wanted to, why he's coming for this information now. And then as soon as he says that, the skull on his hand tingles a bit. And then everything you just told me about why he's telling Jeannie this now, Marcus immediately says. The skull, it seems, upon peering it, grows a little blacker. The normal pristine white obtains a light shade of gray.
Interesting.
I see. So why did you lie to me in the first place?
Scared at what you would do?
What am I
I mean,
going to
you're...
do to you? You were acting at the behest of the Archon. Didn't your mother ever teach you not to lie to people?
Yeah, well, a lot of things happened in my lifetime that made me a little bit more cynical.
I see. Jeannie looks from you to David to Joseph to Byron, then back to Marcus. Did you bring them along more for security purposes rather than moral support?
I'm here for moral support. I don't know about the others.
Honestly, I didn't really think about bringing them for security.
Ah. Huh. Moral support.
Well,
An interesting concept.
I have trouble sometimes with my mouth.
I see. Is that all you wish to tell me, Marcus?
Well, I would also like to take you up in your offer of trying to fix my problem.
No, I think that opportunity expired after you refused to allow me to do so the last time.
As your wish, and I respect that.
Shrugs. If you actually want my help and not to waste my time, then whenever I offer the help, it would be wise to actually accept it.
I'll take that advice to heart.
Jeannie shrugs. So, what do you want to do now? What were you
Unless you
hoping
have
to
something-
gain by just outright coming here? Like, to save yourself? What?
I guess to save myself and that of my coterie mates.
From what? That I would be vengeful and storm into Astoria and cast you all down? Genie looks as if he's
There
making
are
fun of you.
some people fear Tremere. Although now that I think about it, you've done nothing to make me outright fear you yet. I say yet.
Very well then. Genie looks from Marcus to David to Joseph to Byron, back to Marcus. Was there anything else from any of you others? Curious dreams, phantom heart pulses, nightmares where your limbs bramblify and spit right off your body and go walking off and vanish? Been woken by the heart of Icthoru again?
Is David not going to say anything, or is he just going to sit there and be silent?
I mean, there's the other two who could talk if they so wished upon being asked a question from Genie.
Joseph is completely silent at the moment. He's not saying anything at all.
Don't they have anything else?
I've been having the same dreams as him.
Right, but as you had explained, you had been awoken by the ink-black rock that you recovered from the curious snowman flesh-crafted fiend. It would only make sense. Are you experiencing moments where you misplace your blood and feel hungrier than what you thought you were?
No, just the dreams. I assume it's just normal trauma.
Genie nods indeed. And you've only been exposed to the rock just the one time, as you've had like direct contact with it?
David will stay silent for a moment and then say, twice.
The brows lift. Oh. Genie leans back in his chair. I see. Well, so long as you have no further contact with the item which, as you have said, is in the possession of Archon Theobel, who passed it off to, presumably, his own superior, you should have no further concerns in the matter. As for the whole nightmares and symptoms, likely just trauma, I think everything will be fine. The whole blood loss issue, though, Genie shrugs at Marcus. You're on your own with that one.
All right.
If there is nothing else, then you may... Genie actually extends his hand. Return that to me.
Marcus will hand the genially in Genie's hands.
Genie takes the skull. I do believe the four of you know your own way out.
Indeed.
Joseph is going to hurry straight to the car.
Shotgun.
Byron will stand and say, Thank you for your time. And then he will walk out.
David will just head out with Marcus.
Joseph's going to make a small stop at Madison Square Garden to see if the Archon is currently.
Yarp? He's in.
Okay, then he's going to go straight up to that box.
Okay. Good talk about what happened in there, in the Maupassant room, by the way, guys. Everyone just beeline for the car.
If they weren't in the car by the time Joseph was turning the key, they may have very well have gotten left behind.
Like, obviously David wasn't riding in the car.
Well, I guess Marcus and Byron are walking back to Astoria.
Yep.
Damn it.
You know, just Marcus and Byron are just standing there with David as Joseph goes driving off.
I think the power of driving a car has gone into his head.
No.
Well, at least he doesn't have throw rock.
If you had managed to open the door, he would have been polite enough to let you get in and close it. But if you were just dilly-dallying around back there like David was, and Byron may have been, then no, he would have left you behind.
Yeah, Byron, well, if you were moving quickly, he would have been about 15 paces behind you, so he wouldn't have been getting in by the time you turned the key, probably. Maybe right when you hit the gas, he would have been touching the door handle.
Like, what the fuck?
That said, he'll once he's in with the Archon, he'll be telling him straight off what happened.
You can go ahead and put yourself in the box.
Yeah, and David was actually pretty surprised by how full the disclosure was.
Yeah, when, well, he had that crazy skull, so, yeah. I think we gave the sheriff, Byron was going to mention this before Joseph took off. It's like, didn't we promise the sheriff we weren't going to mention the heart? I mean, you know, it's just, oops.
So Theo will be in his traditionally standard posture, as has become custom of no glasses, no cap, jackets off, shotguns resting against the side wall. Looks up from all of the folders and papers, sees Joseph. Yes, Joseph? What is it?
It's about my coterie being a bunch of dumbasses.
Oh my.
Geo knows about the heart.
Well, of course Jeannie knows about the heart. The Tremere.
Yeah, he knows that we went down and took it, and that you passed it off to your superiors and such on, and all of that.
Well, of course the Tremere know. It's not exactly like it was going to be kept a secret forever. Eventually, Justicar would have given it to the Inner Council, and then everyone would have... Theo stops and blinks at Joseph. Really?
Yeah, as I said, it's about my coterie being a bunch of dumbasses.
Really? So who exactly did this?
Blame ends up falling on Marcus's head.
Theo scrutinizes Joseph there considerably.
It's, to an extent, it's inarguably all of ours. We all participated in it, but that said, Marcus went up, lied to him, and then went about and decided, oh, he was going to tell him the truth now.
Theo's jaw at this point has unhinged a little. The brows are furrowed. You've recognized his expression before. You've seen it on the sheriff's face whenever he's looked at Byron, completely baffled by what to do. I see. So why are you here?
Because my coteries is full of dumbasses. I mean, we don't really get along. We don't really see eye to eye. But that said, they're giving information to the Tremere. Whoever's standing up to the Tremere, well, it's whoever's standing up against the Tremere is someone that I don't mind being helping in any way I can.
You do realize, Joseph, that we're all in this Camarilla thing together, right?
Yeah, I get that, but you're also of an older school than I am. It's not that we have any thing against each other. It's just different opinions on a lot of topics.
You know you don't have to hang with them.
At this point, it feels more like I've got to babysit them sometimes.
There are other kindred out there in the sea, Joseph.
I know, but there's a point where you invest so much energy into someone that you feel like you just have to keep taking care of them, even if they keep walking out into the middle of the street.
All right then. Well, as you are the babysitter, I will now entrust you with a great level of responsibility, Joseph. Theo points to the window of the box here, the arena. You see that glass?
Yeah?
Inform the Toreador that the next time I see him, I'm suplexing him through that. Theobald's face, completely stoic, stone cold serious.
Well, very well. I'll take my leave to go ahead and tell him that before he decides he wants to tell you the truth, too.
Theo smiles. Much appreciated, Joseph. You have a good night now.
He's going to step outside and immediately start calling up Marcus.
Yes. Yes.
Let's say that if you get the urge to go see the Archon, don't.
Okay.
He'll probably put you through the glass of the box. And I don't think that was an idle joke. I think he'll probably flip out and put you through the glass of the box.
All right. I'll make sure to stay on the out of the Archon's way.
Yes, Marcus, I tattled on you are the appropriate words.
Yeah, it's basically, Marcus, I tattled on you, so don't go see the Archon or you're going to get spanked because I tattled on you.
That said, Joseph's used to it being him under the bus. It feels good to finally put someone else there.
Usually, Joseph getting thrown under the bus is incidental instead of intentional.
Yeah, that said, this was, standing against the Tremere. It's Joseph's gonna throw whoever under the bus when it comes to standing up against the Tremere and the Zemitzi.
Joseph throws Sevalot under the bus.
This seemed a lot more like throwing Marcus under the bus than standing up to the Tremere.
No, not standing up to the Tremere, but standing against them. Just doing anything you can to make sure that they aren't going to get more power than absolutely they can grab without him not being able to stop them.
You just want to throw me under the... You can just say that now.
See what happens when Joseph can drive himself.
No. Joseph doesn't want to throw Marcus under the bus. Joseph wants to throw Byron under the bus. He didn't get a chance to this time.
Oh, man. All right. Well, what is the coterie going to be doing for the remainder of the night? / morning.
Moping.
It is Saturday, April 11th, 1998. It's party time! This is the day before Easter Sunday, guys. It's party time!
Oh shit, I'm going to get like a ton of boxes of Peeps and eat them all and then puke them all up.
That's what I do anyway, and I'm not a vampire.
Exactly, that's the joke.
Peeps!
I hate those things.
Go ahead.
Okay. On the way home, Byron is going to go buy a. There's got to be some kind of all-night hardware store type thing, like a Walmart. Doesn't have to be hardware. He just wants rat poison.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and he's going to take that and basically drop it around his house in random places.
Okay.
And
Joseph's probably got a lot of shit to do to help with anything for Easter.
That's right. It's a big deal. Unfortunately, the priest himself won't be able to give mass, because, vampire, light on fire. There'll always be Greg. Alright. And, David, just gonna monitor ShrekNet for the rest of the night and morning.
And practice Protean and
That's right.
look at my security systems and, all that sort of stuff.
Alright, that takes care of the morning, night /
Actually,
morning?
wait,
Go ahead.
How much time do I have?
Got a few hours. What up?
I'm going to go hunting for an hour.
Okay. Give me a wits plus streetwise at, it's Saturday night. People are all out about. Even though you're ugly as fuck, difficulty 2. You win.
I win!
There you go. Alright. With the night and the morning taken care of for you 4 kindred, that'll also take care of this 7-hour session. What'd you all think?
A lot
I think
happened.
I made a lot. A lot of it was Mark's being dumb.
Yes, a lot of it was Marcus being dumb.
I actually was hoping that Joseph would, when he first came to the hotel room, Byron was basically going to say, hey, talk us out of this. I mean, it's just, I mean, not in those words, but, you know, he said he would go along with Marcus with him, but he wasn't, I mean, he's just like, come on, give me a good argument.
When David said to tell the truth, and Byron was already saying that Marcus was already set on that, Joseph gave up there. He wasn't going to try to convince all three of them. If it was one of them was on the fence, he probably would have tried. But with all three of them already saying that that's what they wanted to do, he wasn't going to go ahead and fight that, because he knows that in the next coming days that he'll probably be pissing off the code rate a lot more anyways.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just, I was actually hemming and hawing on that too. I was just, but the point Byron was saying is like, well, we don't want the Tremere to win anyway, do we? I mean, it's kind of like, why do we care? But anyway, but I guess in the back it said Byron's like, well, if you need help from this guy, which didn't happen anyway, darn it, maybe you might want to tell him the truth. So.
Yeah, I think that was the major point where Joseph wasn't. That made Joseph say, okay, if everyone else is going to do this, then fine, I'll just step out of the way this time. Because he was hoping that, hey, maybe if you're having nightmares and shit's going wrong, that, hey, maybe the Tremere can get this fucking demon blood out of you.
David consistently underestimates how complete of a truth the coterie tends to tell.
In fairness, as what David ended up saying along with the others, the stipulation for Marcus going in there and having a meeting was that Marcus had to hold a skull, which apparently had some sort of strange, truth-compelling effect. So this one time, David, this one time.
Right. And I think it was less that it compelled truth and more that it removed lie, based on the fact that it was absorbing the darkness into it.
Yeah. As Marcus said the lie, and then he immediately, he gave the full disclosure.
Yeah, it seemed like the skull was more absorbing the lie than inflicting the truth.
But a byproduct ended up being the truth.
Right, the net result is identical, just the method of reaching it. In terms of, you know, the metaphysical reactions of truth and magic.
Yes. Alright.
But I still say that that really we didn't tell Jeannie anything he didn't already suspect. And we confirmed it for him, and I guess we let him. Did we? We didn't ever give. Did we give the name of who Theo Bell gave the thing to?
Yeah.
No, he did.
It's the Justicar.
Okay.
You should know his name.
Yeah. Marcus said the Justicar, who is Jaroslav Pasek. That is the Justicar who oversees Theo Bell and other Archons here. Basically oversees the entire, like, North American area.
Well, he probably could have suspected that too. Then, I mean, if if the Archon was doing it, probably it was under those orders. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
So what happened?
Maybe you are wrong.
And I want to see whether I initially understand this, is that Marcus had gone there with good intentions, but he apparently panicked and decided to lie to cover that up, because, you know, heaven forbid, you know, the Tremere discover that Theo Bell was behind, because, you know, the Tremere are going to do horrible things to the Archon.
I panicked. What can I say?
Yeah. And then realizing the whole panicky situation and how this doesn't help Marcus, he later went back and told the truth.
Which was something that did not help Marcus anyways.
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. At least immediate-wise, the whole, disassociative blood spending has not been removed.
For now.
For now.
Personally, the way that I would have handled it was going in, saying, the High Regent said that Tremere might, be willing to help me with something at some point. And then, calling in your boon.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things I could have done, but
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying that's the way that David would have handled it.
I've made mistakes and I'm not going to take them back.
I wouldn't let you take him back anyway. No take back scenes.
Good.
But,
I should.
see, Aaron, you think a lot happened in this session?
Yeah.
What happened this session?
Tons of information flowed to other places that it wasn't already.
So what is David Green's thinking now, over these past 6 days passed during this session? So what sort of new information flowed into him?
Well, first of all, he learned a lot about the Niktuku. He kind of solidified a bunch of his ideas by bouncing them off of Gerard. All sorts of stuff like that. And, of course, he's now watching the Carter situation very closely because, it's important. Because, again, Carter is hypothetically David's ideal candidate, but obviously the situation might force him not to support him.
What else? Is there anything else?
The Tremere got tattled too, and then Theo got tattled too.
That's legit.
This party has a history, or this coterie rather, has a long and storied tradition of tattling.
Sometimes on purpose and sometimes by accident.
Man!
While you are still here in the map tool session, something I wanted you to do, I did have you do this at the end of last session after Theo awoke you, but give me one more just to roll a 1d10 for me, Aaron. Okay. That's all I needed. I'll have something important for your character over the course of, however long any downtime might be. So we know what David Green learned. What about the other characters? What did Marcus Paulson learn?
The sun hurts.
Sun hurts. Truth.
Tell the truth.
Truth.
Or at least get better in line.
That the rats and that the sudden upswing in ghoul-flied rats might be because of him.
Did you like that? Fight with a ghoul rat?
I didn't like that I rolled like 8 ones.
That thing
Other
is
than that, it
was arguably more dangerous than those Lacha that Sevalot had made there that you guys fought.
Because they could be... No, because this thing's had like 7 health. The Slotcha had like 2.
2, yeah. Alright. What did Joseph Chung learn, Sean?
He learned that he needs to teach his coterie how to lie.
Seems legit.
Hey. You don't need to teach David how to lie.
Okay, he needs to teach half of his coterie how to lie.
There you go.
Which half?
Every time you say my coterie, I can't help but think, hey. David has discretion.
Yeah, David's been doing good at that. He's well, except for that one time when he freaked out and tried to kill everybody. He's been pretty good with dealing with
Hey,
the
hey, hey,
code.
I didn't say that he's good with self-control. I said he's good with discretion. And
Yes,
he's getting better with self-control, too.
that's right. I think Joseph learned that he needs more driving lessons. That's the chat. That's
I
a
mean,
positive.
David spent 4 experience points and a whole bunch of time boosting self-control and getting rid of his derangement. Yo.
Yo, that's right. What else did Joseph Chung learn?
That he may actually be the second most competent Malkavian in the city from what he's looking around in.
Definitely. To clarify that, I mean, you do have a smattering of Malkavians, perhaps between, 12 and 24. Over a dozen, but less than 2 dozen. A city worth of full 250. At least, those that Joseph would know about. And of those, Carter Vanderweyden is really the only recognizable one who plays any sort of role at all in, kindred politics. It's remarkable that, Malkavians tend to, especially those who are older, are so out of touch, more so than other vampires. They have difficulty associating with others. It tends to be their lack of organization, the improper training they receive from a sire, their fucking batshit craziness that gets them killed or basically puts them in a position where no one wants to communicate with them at all. And Carter's really the only one, at least here in this area, who's managed to, control himself.
Yeah, he's essentially looking to see if there's another Malkavian up for being Primogen. At this point, he realizes, hey, either which way you cut it, Carter's probably not going to end up as a Primogen. And if there's no other really competent Malkavians, there's got to be a Malkavian
Joseph is going
Primogen.
to end up Primogen. I'm just telling you that right now.
Assuming, Clan Malkavian is so large that it actually warrants a title such as Primogen. I mean, it's so small that might not really be deemed as important.
Side note, I was totally blindsided by Carter offering David the seat of Primogen.
That was the intent.
It put me as a player completely off balance.
Yes, mission accomplished. I thought that'd be great to throw out
There
there.
have been many times in this game where I, as a player, have been completely put off balance. One of those times was the first meeting with Sevalad Cerveni.
How you all doing? Welcome to my humble domain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, this was one of those times.
David Green had perhaps an opportunity there. Become Nosferatu Primogen.
David didn't want that opportunity. Even if I, as a player, find that a fascinating and really interesting turn of events.
I know, it's like, what are the role-playing opportunities of David Green being Primogen for the next prince? You could advise and have a hand in all sorts of affairs.
I know, and as a player, that sounds awesome. But David doesn't want that at all.
David's like, get fucked. He could have always, you could have pitched it back like, Primogen, no, maybe not, but hey.
Yeah,
And
but no.
Yeah, there's also the possibility, just like, oh gosh, my names are just out the window. Gerard said, he could have been full of shit too. He could have been just leading you on to get your support.
Right, there's no telling how
David
many
actually-
empty promises might be made by these candidates.
David actually thinks it was exactly that. That or was made in ignorance, because really, David is not very connected with his clan. He's not.
That may be intentional. He wants a Primogen he can control.
Or at least someone who he knows. I mean, this whole Primogen, appointing thing can be part based on ability, but it also tends to be based on, who do I know? Who can help me get something? If you can help persuade Gerard Rafin and the remaining Nosferatu to throw their support behind me instead of being with Marlena, I'll totally give you the private jet. Because at this point, you know, David Green might be perceived as the best, asset that Carter has. And that might have been why he made that offer.
And if the conversation with Gerard ends up going well, David might revisit the possibility of getting a political role like sheriff. But yeah, being Primeton, that's not something he wanted, and it's not something he feels qualified for.
So, what did Byron Rand learn from this session, Crimson?
Hopefully Auspex.
I don't know, man. You were drunk half the time, so I don't know how much you learned and how much I... But, yeah, hopefully a little bit of that. And
Let's say that Byron's had better teachers.
right. But, yeah, he learned that he's kind of at a loss. I mean, it's he would really love to help Carter Vanderweyden become the prince, but he's uncertain. I mean, because we were having a discussion while you were away for a moment. Aren't most of the Ventrue already in the Vanderweyden camp?
They are, yes.
Yeah, and so that would be his main audience, and perhaps, I mean, it's who else is, I mean, not that they would listen to a neonate Ventrue, but who else would? I mean, it's not like you can go into Toreador parties and sway them and forget many other people. So, yeah, he's just kind of, I mean, his whole gambit was that the coterie comes out for him and just lends their support, but he's not going to do it without the rest of the coterie, just because the whole thing would fall apart. And also a metagame reason is, I don't know what that would do to the game if the coterie all went for a different person. I mean, half the people would have to leave the town. So yeah, Byron is just like, whatever. I'm going to deal with my house and my possible rat infestation.
Well, I mean, I don't think that all supporters of a loser get run out of town. I think it's just their core block that does.
Won't even be much of the core block because New York's not doesn't got this hugely powerful vampires. It'll mostly just be the actual, maybe 2 or 3 extras of people who really threw in with them. I'd guess.
If it's Marlena, though, a lot more might go out.
What's the approximate kindred population of the 5 boroughs again?
Over the past 2 months, it's actually been increasing. Like, originally at the start, you're looking at about 200. It's closer to, like, 250 now. Might even be higher than that. And of each borough, Brooklyn tends to have the highest population, courtesy of how large it is. And because of that, there's also, like, a lot of room for people to have larger hunting grounds. And a larger... just like domains in general. Manhattan's pretty packed in together, and that's almost entirely a Tremere Toreador Ventrue thing. There's a little bit of Nosferatu at the northern tip, but yeah, there's that. Up there in the Bronx, there's not a whole lot of people. There's Setites in the south. You have some Ventrue in Bruges. You have Nosferatu along the western flank. In Queens, you have a smattering of all the different Camarilla clans. From the Nosferatu, Malkavian, Bruges, Toreador, Ventrue. And Staten Island, you all are unfamiliar with just how many domains there are there, how many. You just assume numbers a few dozen. Primarily because that's what Marcus can testify to whenever Boss Callahan and Duke Wiley showed up at Elysium. And Duke Wiley staked the sheriff in the chest. A few dozen. Armed and perhaps highly motivated, if maybe misguided.
Just looking at your
Yeah,
map,
the
it looks
other
like Jamaica and Queens is a Toreador stronghold.
Yeah, and these domains might end up fluctuating and changing, and they certainly have over the past of the months. I just decided that I would add more flavor and decoration to it. As seeing how expansive and large that Brooklyn is, I figured, people who would come there would have, like, larger domains, courtesy of the fact there's just so much to control, whereas in Manhattan, it's really close and packed in tightly. Like, say, for example, all of those Tremere domains that don't exactly have, like, a name attached to them might actually fit, like, 2 or 3 different Tremere inside of them. It's just an extent where you don't know every single kindred who lives in the city. You just know swaths of territory that are controlled by different clans. Like, say, for example, in your city or, like, in your area where you live, this is a bad neighborhood. You know, this gang lives here. You don't want to do such and such here. They handle, they're notorious for this. Over here and covering from this street to this street, you have this sect of folks. That's what you know. You just don't know how many might be living in any given situation, unless where I've denoted it with like a specific small circle. Or a large one, depending on the vampire.
So this is a weird question that I don't expect to actually have an answer, but do any of you know what Toreador's name, like the clan Toreador's name was before Italian was a language?
I think it was Ishtar, because that's the name of the Andaluvian.
Right, they're Ishtari. So they were Babylonian before they relocated to Italy.
Fun fact, apparently Ishtar was the first child of Cain, the first child of one of the three, the two, the 3 second-generation people. Toreador are apparently one of the oldest clans.
The first grandchild of Cain.
At least according to Wolf, and we know how they are.
Yeah, everything story-wise is written, from someone else's perspective, so it might be 100% false.
Well, the law of Amun-Ra, the first person to suffer diablerie was a Toreador.
Yes, there are a few Assamite domains, those who are actually sort of like neutral, as in they have no clan affiliation, a few independent ones. The 2 Malkavian who actually live in Flushing. I detailed Joseph Chung's neighborhood a little bit more, just so that he had a better sense of who lived nearby locally. All of those individuals don't have any direct ties to the Camarilla. They see themselves as independent.
Well,
did those Malkavians who live near Joseph live there because of Joseph? I mean, are they kind of like attracted to the area because there's a semi-notable, semi-reliable Malkavian in the area?
Who knows? But
Well,
probably not. That just seemed weird, right?
Yeah, they're also both Asians, and downtown Flushing is a strong Asian community. So.
Yeah, like that's probably the main reason why they're attracted to the area, due to the strong Asian ties.
Another thing to remember about there being Assamites everywhere is that weren't they part of the Convention of Thorns? God, this old thing. There's a bunch of old like fire knowledge, like lore. Apparently, there was a treaty between the Anarchs, the newly formed Camarilla, and the Assamites.
Asking the wrong person. Anyway, it's possible that as time progresses, the domains will definitely shift. For example, the followers of Sect, who had established themselves quite strongly here when the Sabbat were in charge, especially when a new prince is crowned or what have you, may see themselves being pushed out. Not altogether, but most of the way. The Giovanni may have some challenges of their own, some serious ones to face for JFK International. There's no telling. It sort of depends on the conclusion of the main story arc, which is who becomes the next Prince of New York City. A question which has been narrowed down but has not been answered so far yet.
Out of character, David's actually been tossing around the idea of trying to not ally with the Giovanni, but meet them.
Now, why would they want to meet David Green?
They wouldn't. He's been tossing this idea around since before Session 1.
That makes me think of another question. What kind of character will you have after that?
Well, he was thinking of like Giovanni, you know.
Well, you know, I've been meaning to play a city gangrel, so...
Right, and just imagine how much more intrigue you guys could be listening to right now over the past 16 chapters if one of you had been Tremere. Because with non-Tremere, it'd sort of be like, since for all of you non-Nosferatu, you get nothing from You don't get to hear about any of the internal political dialogue because they present a unified front against all non-Tremere.
How about if one of us had been, you know, a gangrel?
Possible. You would have found socializing a bit more difficult, courtesy of the fact that your clan was no longer a part of the Camarilla sect. Sort of like if, say, a Tzimisce became Camarilla. There's a few Camarilla Tzimisce. It's difficult for them.
I mean, it's sort of difficult for the Camarilla La Sombra, but not as hard as it is for the Tzimisce.
Actually significantly harder. There is an almost suicidally intense effort by the Sabbat to assassinate any and all Camarilla La Sombra.
Yeah, the La Sombra are the leaders of the Sabbat, so them switching sides is a bigger no-no than the Tzimisce.
I mean, if one of us had been a Bruja, we could have a Bruja. How the hell do you pronounce that? We could have been involved in all these cool, you know, anarch things.
Yeah, and you know, a thing that kind of fell by the wayside is the whole Dragon Metro Cab Company thing. Kind of Rat Attack pushed us sideways on that whole thing a little bit.
Well, a lot of things get seemingly pushed to the sideways as more important things come up that need to be dealt with immediately. You know what I mean?
You know, Dragon Metro Cab Company is just not that important in the grand scheme of things.
We don't know that, but it's not as urgent, more to the point.
It's not in the process of killing us. Other things were in the process of killing us.
Right. I'm just really interested personally about that, and in the back of my head, I'm just wondering if it's just one big old red herring by Grimith here.
But yeah, importance and urgency are two very different things.
I don't know, man.
True story.
Yeah.
Are there any other final reflections, like, we're still not done here yet, but any other reflections you haven't shared yet that your characters have, or you as players have, that you wanted to talk about?
David thinks that for every admirable thing that there is about Gerard trying to organize the Nosferatu to protect them against the Niktuku, ultimately, all of his strategies his strategy does is slow it down and run from it. And yet he's unwilling to do a full evacuation and doesn't have apparently any working ideas for how to properly go on to an offensive. He's terrified of what that implies about the future.
Yes. I mean, you heard the description itself. If what Gerard is saying is true, There are multiple Natukus, and each one is a 4th-generation vampire. It's, Gerard has, he's obviously heard stories about people other Nosferatu and what they've tried to do, and it's sort of passed along in, like, the heritage as well, how you have, like, the machine gun embankments and the sewer tunnels and the fortified warrens, and how there tends to be a large communal aspect in why Nosferatu have ended up either living together or ending up living very close together. Sort of, like, establish those bonds of unity so that, no one would ever be alone. As the Niktuku, at least from what Gerard is saying, and as seems to be the case here, usually ends up going after solitary targets. Not to say that it hasn't ever gone after multiple targets. Just look at the 2 Nosferatu who are found decapitated in the sewers. It's just, safety in numbers.
Or the Antitribu Warrens.
Yeah. And that probably brought up an interesting point that David might not have ever considered before, where, the Sabbat were the Nosferatu, like, I told you, like, how horrifying those looked, in the Battle of New York, where the Nosferatu had just, like, sort of given up in there, like, just, no. They had obviously been terrorized as well. And in addition, I think David Green has also now considered the slight possibility that there is no Natuku and Tzimisce is down there.
I had actually, and David by extension, had considered that the moment that he had been told about the myth of Tzimisce living underneath New York. The first thing that went through his head was, Niktuku? What does that imply about the Niktuku? Or whatever's hunting us?
Yeah, Byron was actually surprised you brought it up. I, as a player, was a little bit too. I was like, really? You bought that?
Fleshy protrusions everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, well,
Mist
keep in mind.
everywhere? The Ouroboros appearing in the mists?
Not just that, but being burned on, like, the sides of, like, the sewers, and what have you. And, curious creatures. Of course, Nosferatu have a tendency to run into curious creatures anyway, like colossal-sized rats.
But here's something that David is quietly wondering. Just because Tzimisce might be in torpor, might be dreaming, who's to say that its nightmares can't have an effect in mutating the life in the world around it? Who's to say that it can't practice vicissitude on nearby things just as a manifestation of its dark dreams? Basically, shit might get seriously Lovecraftian.
Yeah, and but also keep in mind, Byron doesn't know everything that, especially about underground, that David does. Did David ever tell the rest of the coterie about the Ouroboros mist he saw? Because
Not underground, no.
Yep, nope. And to be fair, none of the party knows anything about his conversation with Gerard other than that he's possibly organized a meeting between him and Carter.
It's like, none of the coterie knows practically any, except for David, knows practically anything about being below ground. The most time anyone's likely spent there was Marcus whenever he fell asleep. It's just not a place you would go, and as any Nosferatu, pretty much anywhere in the world, but particularly here in New York City would advise you, don't go there. No. I mean, Niktuku, every Nosferatu will have heard of it living in the city. Practically no one else living in the city would have heard of it. Even Theo Bell would have less knowledge about it than Gerard Rafen would.
In some fluff I read, Once a Nosferatu traded knowledge of the Niktuku to a Tremere for education in thaumaturgy. The lore behind it is that rare.
Quite
Yeah,
possible
you
that
mentioned
Gerard Rafen is like a learned scholar on the matter, such as, those precious few vampires who actually have, like, seen genuine scripture from the Book of Nod.
And look at what little
Yeah,
he could
he was-
offer.
Yeah, Byron would say Niktuku, they make patches for that.
But, I mean, the flip side is kind of like any Nosferatu who meets a Miktuku is 98% guaranteed to die right on the spot.
It's not that hard to read the Nod. I found it on the internet.
Like, any non-Nosferatu who meets a Niktuku wouldn't know it anyway, and unless the Niktuku wanted them to know or just didn't care. But they would be spared unless they, say, tried to directly interfere in, say, saving a Nosferatu. But,
Unless, of course, the Niktuku is among us wearing our faces. For example, Gerard Rafen's. Yes, David is this paranoid.
that seems a little silly, though. I mean, in that case, you'd have to consider why would the Niktuku spare me? Or any of us.
He's trying to organize us all into one place, get us to work together so that he has an easy access to us through our information networks.
I think David needs to sleep in a more comfortable place. Garrett.
Yeah.
Obviously, David doesn't consider this to be his primary hypothesis, but it's a hypothesis. To be fair, David still isn't convinced that the party hasn't been influenced by Sevalot.
David needs medication.
I think they're going to be drugs strong enough to affect vampires. David needs all of them. Like to say, go to your therapist. So I think Gerard Rafen is Niktuku. What?
Well, no, he doesn't. He thinks it's much more likely that he's Gerard Rafen, but... I mean, he's...
Maybe Theo Bell is
Really
Niktuku.
out.
Did you hear
Maybe
what he
Marcus
told
Paul-
me?
Maybe Marcus Paul's Niktuku.
Yeah. Maybe Gerard Rafen's Niktuku. Not Theo Bell's Niktuku because of what he said after he woke me up from Tartbar. Alright.
David has a hard time trusting anything about anything.
Maybe David's Niktuku.
David has not ruled that out.
I think the real derangement here is trust issues.
I think the real derangement is that David makes the Malkavian look sane.
And by the way,
David has not ruled out the possibility that he is in fact the Niktuku and has been programmed using domination to have selective amnesia for better infiltration.
that's right. And of course, oh god damn it, I lost my train of thought here. Never mind, it's not important. David can't forget that that Grimith forgot what he was gonna say. That's what God damn it, I can't remember now.
No, David does not have the fourth wall awareness derangement.
Yep.
No matter how much I ask for it.
Mechanics-wise, it's been a very long session. Each of you earns 3 experience points. Marcus loses a point of fame, bringing him back down to 1.
Okay.
No one's really that interested in him. He's become like, a select subculture guy again. But he's not the minor celebrity that he was after he made an appearance at the Minuteman. Really, what Marcus is known for now is appearing in bars and and making women woozy. And there are a lot of guys who can do that.
Alright, it's fine.
He should throw, like, some ridiculous, like, guerrilla advertising campaign party. Like, turn an entire city block into an unscheduled, spontaneous jam session.
Maybe he'll do that once he gets some awe on him.
Maybe, yeah, that's what I'm like. I'll do that when I can at least keep some of the people awed, you know? Speaking of awe, has either Marcus or Byron learned and spent enough time learning their disciplines to spend the time?
It's only been a week and a half, and these past 6 days of in-game time have not been the best education. I think it depends on how much downtime there is between this session and the next one.
Okay.
And Joseph's still still spending time with the cult.
Right.
As of that talk with Gerard Rafin, David's top priority is Protean 3.
Okay, so next question we need to answer then is, when will the next session begin?
I don't think anyone has anything that needs to be done the next night, correct?
Yeah, if no one's...
No.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying no.
Yeah, if no one's following up Joseph or anything, I think he's going to split his time between doing the going to college and checking around, probably going to Carter and asking, hey, do you know the Malkavians in the city? I want to get involved in talking to them, seeing about things, just getting sort of lay of the land.
The main things on David's horizon at the moment are hearing how the talk between Gerard and Carter went, seeing what, if anything, pans out with his idea for Nosferatu, just, fucking teaching each other, and finding out about what, if anything, Evelyn manages to get in regards to his living situation. And all of those things are on a time scale basically determined by Grimith. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think, since I really don't know what to do with it, I think Marcus will probably spend most of his time still, he's not going to spend all of his time, getting crunk and going to bars and playing at bars, but he's going to try to ingratiate himself a bit more into toreadors at large. I mean, he hasn't really been known for hanging out with other toreadors, He goes to PS1 Contemporary Art Center sometimes, on occasion.
Right.
So I think he'll probably just be trying to, say, I'm a, go to this tour, go out and hang out with toreadors and talk and gossip with them and try to, just get to know them more because he doesn't really know them that well.
You all have definitely engaged far more in sort of like individual matters and coterie dynamics than you have with the clans as a whole since your arrival here in New York City. David, of course, is going to be prone to being the most attached to the Nosferatu, but he's sort of split off, and perhaps that's due to the effect that his sire on him, which, Gerard Rafin did say, I knew your sire. I don't even know what you named your sire. You don't even know what you named your sire. But Gerard knew him.
Yeah, that's hardly surprising, and aftermath from his sire is a big reason why he's avoided the Nosferatu.
Yeah.
For all this time.
Of course, the Toreador and Venture have no excuses because they're two of the four biggest clans here in New York City. As for Joseph Chung, I mean, in speaking with Carter Vanderwayden, Carter is easily the most successful and the most prominent Malkavian, not just here, but perhaps, within like the entire tri-state area, counting New Jersey and Connecticut by a long shot. But of how successful he is and how sort of logically built and put together he is, and how coldly logical and, he has his eidetic memory. Just not sort of like any real clan identity that they have. It sort of like comes and goes, but there doesn't really tend to be a Malkavian Primogen at all, ever. So say, for example, the concept of Marlena mentioning that to David would almost seem absurd that there would be a Malkavian Primogen, because they don't really have, like, the clan. I mean, they'll have their moments, but there's no, like, official clan organization.
That's not a thing that Malkavians do.
They'll have those
They don't
crazy
organize.
moments where they'll have, like, the Malkavian network, and they'll all gather together at the same location, but it'll be kind of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, they.
And then one of them yells, "Change places!"
Yeah, if they do that, no one plans it. They just all do it.
And all things considered, Joseph would easily sort of note, and sort of like trying to meet with and, see the various Malkavians, that he is probably the second most, at least in Joseph's opinion, the second most competent and put together Malkavian in the entire city, with the most competent and prominent being Carter Vanderweyden.
But yeah, that's what Marcus, he wants to get, basically he wants to get to know what his clan's like. Find out if there's any other Toreador like him that are, not, all
Well,
dressing up nice and pretty.
I mean, there's certainly those. I mean, how they feel the sort of flows and ebbs of art, and how they, how they exhibit their weakness. That sort of depends from individual to individual. And what they find as interesting art pieces. Certainly, Marcus spending more time with Toreador will end up having him dazed more. There'll also be instances where he'll see other Toreador who are dazed by a piece of art, and he'll think, this is complete and total rubbish. How could you find this interesting at all? Look at this! This is shit!
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just don't know that many.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Kadir Al-Asmai was a Toreador.
Indeed.
Yeah, I really didn't know that Toreadors outside of Kadir, and it's like, I don't know how to feel about the clan Toreador in the game.
I mean, they have quite a bit of organization as far as like getting together in various meeting centers. PS1 Contemporary Arts Center is one of them, and it's pretty local to Marcus, where they'll sort of get together and they'll talk about things and sort of like clan business. But since there's no like Primogen or really identifiable leader for them to get behind right now, and there's sort of like a clan embarrassment with what happened with Kadir. They don't really want to talk about it. It's sort of like, that was our best shot for the princedom, and apparently he was corrupted by a Zamitzi flesh-crafting fiend. Let's never speak of this again. It's just a whole sort of desire of wanting to get the matter over with, get some peace in the city. Carter Vanderweyden's a crazy Malkavian, but Thomas Arturo thinks he's a good idea. So let's just throw our weight in behind that, get the issue settled. Carter Vanderweyden's Malkavian, but he will totally kowtow to the Ventru Tremere Toreador power block, and the Toreador will definitely impress upon him that the Toreador are the best choices. And the degenerates know what's really right for the city. And
Well,
maybe it's for the best.
I think they'll impress upon him that the Harpies should be mostly Toreadors, because apparently in every single Camarilla city, almost every single Harpy is a Toreador.
I mean, there are two Harpies left. Maz is a Bruja, and Thomas Arturo is a Toreador. The Ventru one died.
Yeah, it's not to say that it's not that it's more common to see there be multiple Toreador Harpies in a city than there's like no Toreador Harpies in a city. But it's whatever. That's what mostly Marcus is going to do. He wants to find out, he actually wants to meet some of the other
But
named Toreadors on your map.
But Marcus will definitely see signs of, the strengths of Toreador, their passion and their love for art, and also see the, his own weaknesses put on display in front of him. There's a reason why they're called degenerates. The Toreadors are prisoners of their own artistic vision, and at times they become immobilized by their fascinations, whether it be with alcohol or music or firearms or a lovely little artist they met down at the corner. And it's just they're awed sometimes, and they become crippled for minutes or even hours. And also they tend to fall in love with mortals. It's kind of foolish. So despite all their beauty and glamour, some of which Marcus will totally identify with, some of which Marcus will feel like, you have no idea what art is.
It is David's opinion that in much the same way that the beast is just a metaphor for vampires being bug-fuck nuts, that Toreadors are every bit as insane as Malkavians, just in a slightly more predictable way.
There's a reason why the Toreadors don't tend to be like major leaders, but they do often end up getting involved in politics. It involves a lot of drive and sort of commitment and the willpower required to avoid just getting lost in your fascinations every single night. Willpower which Marcus may find himself lacking, as in reflection upon his life, should he choose to do any introspection, there are many nights where he just sits in the club and gets drunk off people.
Yeah, I think Marcus is going to be looking a lot. He's going to be... That's mostly what this is. He's going to be going to the club and getting drunk still, yes. But he's also going to be thinking about his faults and his weaknesses and what he can do to make himself better.
Yeah. That's pretty much what Marcus's time with the Toreador are like, oh my god, I never want to be with these people again. I hate this clan!
In hindsight, I've realized that I made a brew job. I instead played a Toreador. I made a Toreador. Should have, but I play when I'm playing a Bruja.
Would have been much easier to handle your weakness if you had been Bruges.
Yeah, and it would have been a lot more easier, and it would make a lot more sense the way I'm playing it.
But there's already one person in this coterie who has difficulty retaining control of himself.
Well, at least we can beat
David had basically the Bruja weakness for a while as well.
That's what his Berserk derangement was for, and why I say whenever he was hungry I had him rolling at self-control difficulty 8. He was Berserk.
Well, that's just the first that's one of the first things I've realized when playing Marcus. I made a Toreador, but I'm playing a Bruja.
It's fine.
It's interesting the way it is.
Someday I want to make a Bruja but play a Toreador. No, seriously, load him up with presence and just a bit of celerity, and be very focused on culture and art and
get angry at shitty art.
Yeah, and telling literally no one that he's actually a Bruja. Like, that's a big secret.
You know what you should make? You should be an art critic too.
Alright. So time-sensitive affairs, no one's really sure when the next sessions will begin. Next session, rather, will begin. Alright, that's fine. What I might end up doing is, over the course of the next week before our next session, I might just end up saying, like, alright, you guys want to skip this day. Here's what happens that your characters perceive in this day. Do you now wish to skip to another day, or do you want to stop?
Yeah, that might be good, because all Byron's going to be doing is renovating his New Haven and...
looking out for rats?
Now that he doesn't have such a horrible stigma against him, he might go try to make some connections in Elysium every few nights or something.
I mean, yeah, you all have some status. You are known neonates. You are recognized for the better, or maybe for the worse, for what you have done over the past 16 chapters.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's sort of another thing I'm doing when I go to see the Toreadors. Although I'm going to end up hating them, it's good to get some names and some phone numbers.
Exactly.
And those of you who socialize will find that many more other kindred recognize you, even if you haven't introduced yourselves to them, because they've heard about you.
What I want to know, who are these two Tremere and Steinway? That'll be a mystery for next time, though.
Yep. 3 experience points each. Marcus has lost his point of fame. That takes care of things. Unless there's anything else that you four wish to bring up to each other or to me.
I have nothing unless someone else thinks of something I should say.
Nope, I've got nothing.
Nope.
Yep, I'm good. I can't think of anything.
Alright then, motherfuckers, we're done. Go get fucked.
Yes,
That-
please.
And that's from Grimith, so you know it's good advice.